Hello, welcome to the Healing Place and all things yin yoga. And so today I want to talk about caterpillar pose in regards to lengthening and stretching in through the backs of the legs, through the low back. And I really like caterpillar pose. And in Hatha yoga, we would maybe refer to this more as forward fold. Okay, but in yin yoga, we call it caterpillar pose. And it has benefits in through the low back, in through the muscles in the backs of the thighs, in a lot of releasing and letting go. We're also into the kidney meridian here. So let's get started. All right. So the legs will go long out in front, and you might need to be propped up on something. So you could have a blanket, okay, and you can make that as high as you need it to be. If you have sciatica, you're going to want this to be fairly high. You want your hips to be up and over, higher, okay, than your knees here for sure. All right, so just determining whatever kind of prop you need. And then as you come into caterpillar pose, for some of you, especially if you're propped up here underneath your pelvis, there might be a lot of space here in behind your knees. And so you might want to take your blocks or another blanket, whatever you've got, and prop it underneath your knees. You don't have to do that, but if it feels like, I feel kind of really vulnerable in the back of my knees, just not feeling good for me, go ahead and prop underneath there. We bring support to the bone in yin yoga. Okay, we want to support the bones. This will allow the muscles to release. So we have to prop and work with what feels good for us. Remember, you can always take it out as you get into the pose. Okay, so just a couple propping variations there. I really believe that yoga should be doable for everybody, right? So as we come into the pose now, I want to grow nice and tall and just gently close our eyes and start to connect into our breath. I like to use Ujjayi breath in yin yoga. I find that as we make the sound of the ocean on our exhale, it really brings us into the present moment. So connecting into that Ujjayi breath, just a softer sense of the breath. Few variations now for the hands. You can take the fingers behind you, make little tents, and just start to bring yourself forward. And as we come into a yin yoga pose, we let the breath be the leader, and we just slowly start to bring ourselves into the edge. That first edge where we feel sensation, we can find stillness and hang out a while. And so for a lot of people coming into this pose, that edge might show up across the low back first. For some people, they can walk their hands forward, it feels good for them. For some people, they can come to their toes. And for some people, they can go flat right down onto their chest. But what I want you to do is, as you're bringing yourself in, I want you to come nice and slow into that edge that you can stay a while. And that is the key to yin yoga, is the hold, the length of the pose. And so we want to be in a place that we can stay. It's okay to be uncomfortable, but it's not okay to cross that threshold into pain. And so just connecting into our breath. We could also take our yoga blocks from underneath our head. We could make a little tripod here to hold the head and support the neck, especially if you're prone to neck, shoulder issues, headaches. You'll notice now that the breath has just naturally started to expand into your back. And so what does it feel like to expand the back ribs with the breath? Sound of the ocean on the exhale. And connecting the mind into the body or that edge through the breath. And letting gravity take us deeper into the pose as opposed to pulling, pushing, forcing. Just letting gravity take us deeper. And just notice where that edge is for you in the body. Is it in the back? Is it in the back of the thigh? Is it across, just a little lower into the back? Just notice, where is that edge for me? And now take your mind through your breath into the edge and just be present in that edge. Connect to the present moment. Yin yoga is a very mindful practice. Teaches us how to be in the eye of the storm without reaction. How can we find calm? How can we surrender and let go just a little bit more into this pose? Remember, uncomfortable is okay. Crossing the threshold into pain is not. So if you need to back off a little bit, and I want you to go ahead and do that. Let go of any tension that's shown up in your jaw. You're almost there. And if at any time you need to back yourself out, then go ahead and do that. And the last 3 breaths here. And just very slowly start to walk yourself out. Really slow. And just bring your arms back behind you. Open and widen your collarbone. Think about your shoulder blades coming towards each other now. Bending both of your knees, and then just let your knees go side to side for a little bit. Bring some blood flow, some prana, life force, back into the pelvis, back into the back. Stay with your breath. And then just taking your legs long, shaking them out. Bending that right knee, taking the left arm forward, wrapping it around as we come into a seated twist. And instead of pressing weight back into that arm, think about staying tall and just looking over that shoulder. Stay with your breath here. And one more breath. Slowly unwind, switching sides now, and reaching that right arm, growing tall, rooting down through the pelvis, reaching up through the crown of the head, and just letting that back left shoulder reach back as much as feels good for you. Turning through the head if that feels good for you. Stay with your breath here. Nicely done. And last 2 breaths. And slowly unwind. Good, coming back to center. I want to thank you so much for joining me for all things yin yoga this morning. It's been a pleasure to teach you, as it always is. And if you are enjoying these little videos, the Pilates Strong and Mobile and the All Things Yin Yoga, then please go ahead and hit subscribe, and you'll just get notification when a new video comes up. And I want to thank you so much for joining me. And I'm Sherry Jibb from The Healing Place, and I hope you have an incredible day. Namaste.